Hello and welcome to On Second Street, where today we're going to be talking all about guns. How hard is it to get a gun in this country? What are some of the concerns about Ottawa's latest moves to restrict access to guns? We've got two great guests lined up to help us unpack this issue. Tracy Wilson is the Vice President for the Canadian Coalition of Firearm Rights, and Kris Sims is the Alberta Director for the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Thank you both for taking a few minutes to chat with us today and learn more about this issue. Tracy, I'm wondering if we could start with you and just maybe let's start with the very basics here. Let's say that John Doe somewhere in Canada is interested in purchasing a gun and owning one and going through that process. Could you just tell us the broad strokes of how easy or difficult it is for someone to actually go out and get a gun, legally, of course?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a long, arduous process. If you decide you would like to become a legal Canadian gun owner, you best have between 6 months to a year to get that process completed. You're going to have to find a local course in your area. And of course, most of those are backed
Mm-hmm.
up with wait lists to get into a course. Once you find that course, it's going to cost you anywhere from $100 to $300. It's going to take 2 days out of your life. It comes with it's a massive 2 day course. There's a lot of information involved. And of course, there's a test, both written and practical. And you have to achieve 80% or above to even submit an application. Once you're done all of that, the instructor signs off on it and you're good to go. You're going to fill out an application to the RCMP firearms program. You're going to include that testing information along with about 8 pages of really personal information that includes personal references, a sign off from your spouse if you've got one, if you're single, anybody you've had an intimate relationship with in the last 2 years. So that's pretty invasive. You're going to take all of that with a picture and all the kind of things that you would do for a passport, and you're going to send that off to the Canadian Firearms Program. And then you're going to wait. There's a 38-day waiting period that happens either way. And then the process, usually people are waiting months and months to get approved, and sometimes up to and over a year. So it's a long process. Once you get approved for that, then they will mail you your firearms license. And every time you want to go in and buy a firearm, depending on the
Mm-hmm.
category of firearm, there's different classifications, of course. But if you're looking at just a typical shotgun or something like that, a non-restricted firearm, you have to go into the gun store, pick out what it is that you want. And then, of course, the store themselves have to contact the RCMP firearms program, verify that your license is real and still valid, and then a transfer number is
Mm-hmm.
tied to that interaction. So yeah, if you would like to become a gun owner, I highly recommend it, but you better have a lot of time on your hands to get that done.
Yeah, that's actually surprising. I didn't realize it was so long. So if your buddy wants you to go hunting, in a month or so, you're not going to be able to do it, are you? Kris, I
No.
want to just ask you, because you've gone through this process too. What are your thoughts on the process? Do you think it's reasonable? Should anything change? Do we have enough safeguards in place too for people that maybe they don't have the best mental health? You don't want
Mm,
some people to have access to guns. What are your thoughts on that process, Kris?
that's a great question. Yeah, so I was raised in rural Western Canada and I was raised on hunted meat. So, if our family didn't bag a moose or a deer that fall, it was kind of tough to get red meat over that winter. So, the goal there in most of these families is to fill your freezer. And so, to me, firearms were
Hmm.
just tools, kind of like a chainsaw or a pickup truck. And yeah, I went through the process as an adult. I am a licensed firearms owner. I own a shotgun and it is a beautiful one. Yeah, I would say that the checks and balances are good. I went through the course. It was taught by a former RCMP officer. There was another guy who was a Canadian Armed Forces veteran who was helping along the way. It's very intensive, but I think with good reason. And I think what I like best about it is that it creates this kind of continuity of discipline throughout the firearms community. If you want to find some
Hmm.
sticklers and rule followers, go chat at a gun range because there are so many laws and rules attached to it. People are meticulous about it. So, yeah, I would say there's a good level of checks and balances.
Okay, when we come back, I want to unpack some of the changes that Ottawa is moving forward with when it comes to access to guns. We'll be back in just a moment.